Course title: Negotiating the Best Solution.
Effective negotiators achieve their goals by reaching agreement. Your negotiating skills make the difference between success and failure. In this course, you learn the importance of building and maintaining trust in negotiations. You'll be introduced to personality types and how to handle emotions and interests during a negotiation. You'll also learn how to facilitate agreement by providing options and how to handle continued resistance. Finally, you'll learn how to close the negotiation.
Topic title: Building and Maintaining Trust in a Negotiation.
The key to successful negotiation is forming a relationship with your counterpart. And like any other relationship, it needs trust to work. Think of trust as an equation: credibility times intimacy divided by risk.
Credibility times intimacy divided by risk equals trust.
As credibility or intimacy increases, so does trust. But if the risk to your counterpart increases, confidence and trust decrease. A maximum of 100 points is assigned to each element in the equation. A trust rating above 70 is good, and anything below 50 is poor. Imagine you're working for a large software company. You want to negotiate a deal for the sale of a new product to one of your biggest customers. It's an established customer, so the trust should be high, right? Well, intimacy is high thanks to your company's long relationship with them, say an 80. But suppose the last time they bought your products, they encountered significant quality issues with the product. This lowers your credibility, call it a 10. They likely consider your new products will have quality issues as well, so the risk is high, 90. Do the math, and the trust rating is only 9 points out of 100.
10 times 80 divided by 90.
It's not good at all. How can you build trust in this situation? Your options are to either increase intimacy or credibility, or to decrease risk. Your intimacy level is already high, so ask some questions about their quality concerns. If they feel you're really listening to them, it will increase your credibility. You say you've put a more rigorous quality control and assurance process in place. These increase your credibility to 50. How do you decrease risk? Going forward, your company agrees to partially compensate the organization for any costs associated with quality problems caused by the product. This decreases risk to, say, 50. So by increasing credibility and reducing risk, the rating has increased to 80.
50 times 80 divided by 50 is equal to 80.
Simple formula can help you design a good approach. Your strategy for increasing trust depends on whether you know your counterpart or whether you're meeting them for the first time. If you know someone, you can increase intimacy by appealing to their emotions. Say you're negotiating a pay rise with a tough boss. Appeal to his sense of nostalgia. Make him remember what it was like for him to secure his footing when he started his first job. Suppose you need to increase your credibility because you haven't fulfilled a commitment in the past. Take the opportunity to explain why that happened and how you're better prepared now. To decrease the risk, lay out your plan to meet commitments and include consequences if you don't meet them. If you don't know your counterpart, you can increase intimacy by establishing common ground. Maybe you come from the same town, or you support the same sport team. Perhaps you know someone who can provide a connection between you and your counterpart. These can go a long way toward increasing intimacy and establishing trust. If that person can vouch for you, your company, and your track record, then it's even better. Even a stranger with credibility, like a celebrity endorsing a product or an expert in a field, can work. No matter who you're negotiating with, a successful outcome is more likely if you're able to establish trust.
Topic title: Negotiator Profiles.
When negotiating, recognizing the type of person you're dealing with is a good step toward tailoring your approach to ensure success. There are 4 general negotiation personality types: the general, the analyst, the helper, and the sunshine. No one fits a type precisely, but most people can be categorized to some degree into one of these 4. Have you ever been in a negotiation where you felt threatened? Chances are you've come across a cool and collected general. Their actions serve to underline their importance and to emphasize that they're the ones in control. They can be quite intimidating. That's the idea. They look you in the eye intently, hoping you'll flinch and look away. They shake your hand just a little too hard. They speak with the voice of authority, in a tone implying that further discussion is unnecessary. The general is all about the results they're after and what's in it for them, be it increased performance, efficiency, or profit. When you're dealing with a general, appeal to their ego. Reinforce their sense of power. For example, if the discussion isn't moving forward, ask the general to make a decision. Let them feel they're leading. If the other person's more interested in facts and figures than in resolving the issue, you may have a neat, tidy, and polished analyst. They often seem distracted or distant, and their body language reveals little. Much of the time, they seem too involved in calculating the endless possible consequences of what's just been said. Because analysts are motivated by facts, figures, logical thinking, and evidence, you'll do well to draw attention to your numbers and details. Appeal to their ego. It's of great importance to them, as they generally believe they're right. Next is the helper. They're generally warm-hearted, friendly, and cordial. Helpers remain calm regardless of the situation. They speak in low, hushed tones. They approach issues with a safety-first mindset and seem hesitant at times. To appeal to a helper, speak slowly and remain calm. Make it clear that you feel like they're doing the right thing and avoid high-pressure tactics. Offer solutions without bulldozing them into submission. Have you ever dealt with someone more interested in the ski reports than in the financial reports? That's the sunshine type with their sunny and open disposition. Some people might live to work, but they don't. They're work hard, play hard types, enthusiastic and easygoing. They take great pleasure in celebrating success. Their main objective is to have a good time and experience new things. For them, business is just a means to an end. If your counterpart is a sunshine type, then know that whining and dining might be a good method of negotiation. When negotiating, recognize the true colors of your counterparts, and adapting your approach sets the stage for your success.
Topic title: Handling emotions and interests in a negotiation.
In negotiations, you're always trying to achieve a specific outcome, a certain price, a level of profit, or more resources. Emotions can run high. Anger, frustration, and fear are never far from the negotiating table. Effective negotiators spot and manage these emotions as they emerge. Say you manage a mobile app development company. You've been partnering with a local 3D graphics company since you started. A larger graphic design company approaches you and offers you the same service, but for 25% less. You have a great relationship with your current partner and want to stick with them. But given the recent offer, you want to renegotiate your contract with them to get a 15% reduction. You explain the situation to him, but he immediately gets upset. He points out that he recently lost another contract and that he had to let 2 people go. He can't give you a 15% cut. He says, "Go with the other company. I'll find someone who's willing to pay a fair price for my service." He's not hiding his emotions. In fact, he's letting them get the better of him. You could just walk away, but you don't want to lose the partnership. So, how should you respond? It's best to acknowledge his emotions in an appropriate way. Let him know that you understand how he's feeling, but explain that suggesting you go with the other company is a rash decision that's not necessarily in his best interest. Perhaps this just makes him angrier. He tells you that you have no idea where he's coming from. What now? Allow him to let off steam and get it out of his system. Don't react emotionally or try to defend yourself. At this point, he probably doesn't care about rationales and explanations. Something else you can do is to use the other party's interests to anticipate their next move. You know he's already lost a contract, so even though he said it, he knows that he doesn't really want you to take your business elsewhere. So speak to him. Emphasize how reaching a deal is in his best interest and will help him accept the deal. If he's still resisting, try to reach a compromise. Depending on how badly you want to stick with his company, you could compromise and meet him halfway, for example, with a reduction of 12.5%. You need a solid approach to manage your own emotions. Avoid knee-jerk reactions. Try to remain calm and stay focused on the issues, not the personalities, emotions, or positions. Acknowledge positive emotions, but don't get caught up in them. You don't want to get sentimental or give the impression that you and your counterpart are too close. That can take you in the wrong direction and lead to feelings of betrayal. Recognizing the existence and role of emotions in the negotiation process allows you to manage them and reach an agreement in your favor.
Topic title: Facilitating agreement by providing options.
For a strong negotiation with a better likelihood of agreement, it's best to work out a range of options. You have your solution in mind, but chances are it's not the same one the other party is envisioning. After all, this is a negotiation. Keeping your options open helps facilitate an agreement. One way to come up with multiple options is by brainstorming with your counterpart. Why? For one, it lets you find as many solutions as possible in a safe space with no judgment. It also helps to develop suggestions that the other party can agree to more easily. Brainstorming will also clarify the parameters of what you can settle for in the agreement. Brainstorming with the other side increases your chances of getting agreement on at least one of your solutions. A second tactic for facilitating an agreement is finding an appropriate precedent. Nothing is more convincing than a precedent. Say you want to apply for a project management position in a different department within your company. You know that the other candidates from outside your company have better credentials and more experience. To find a precedent, you do your research and look for trends that will help make your point stronger. Talk to other project managers and examine the projects they've led. You discover a trend. Projects managed by candidates appointed internally tend to be managed better cross-functionally than those managed by people hired from outside the company. And be direct. Use the knowledge you've gained to offer a solution that benefits you and your counterpart. Get to the point and offer a solution that is beneficial to you and the company. Say something like, I have a great track record here working across functions. I may not be the most experienced person you interview, but I have great relationships in every functional department, and I know how to work effectively with each one. Then, drop the hammer and explain how precedent shows that if you're hired, the chances of a successful project are better. A final approach is to modify a solution to reach an agreement. Let's say you own a startup that has developed a suite of apps. You approach a major software company to do a distribution deal, but they're not interested in all your products. How can you generate options? Consider breaking the deal into parts. You may be able to offer individual parts of your product to make the deal more attractive. If there are other parties involved in the deal, for example, an existing contract with a smaller distributor, you can reduce the number of parties in the agreement. Or sometimes it may help to make a deal bigger by bringing another party in, say someone who can supply financing. Look for multiple solutions and keep your options open. It will help you get to an agreement faster, with goodwill and positive relations intact.
Topic title: Handling continued resistance.
Negotiating can be slow-moving and confrontational. When you feel like you're wading through mud, you need strategies to apply to gain agreement in the face of continued resistance. Start by looking at the problem from an external expert's perspective. This requires research and imagination. The key is to step outside your own interests and get an objective view. For example, negotiating a business contract? Think of options that a banker might. Maybe you know someone with the right expertise to give you their view, or ask someone with specialized mediation experience. Armed with an external view, you can push your counterpart to share this new perspective. Hopefully, both of you will see a solution where previously there was only disagreement. You can also adjust the parameters of a solution. Think of a control dial. When you turn the dial toward a harder message, use a softer tone. And if you turn the dial toward a softer message, use a harder tone. Avoid using a soft message with a soft tone, which is too lax, or a hard tone with a hard message, which is too forceful. Suppose you're a union rep negotiating with management about overtime pay. The talks drag on for days, but remain locked in stalemate. Management won't give in on the overtime demands, and workers won't stay past 5 p.m. Management turns the dial harder with a soft tone by saying, "Look, we're not filling orders. We can keep talking, but only if you give us 10 hours of overtime per week." Then you turn the dial, coming back with a soft message in a hard tone. You say, "We'll keep all back orders filled if you agree in principle that we'll get an overtime increase." Other hard options include final, binding, or unconditional agreements, or agreements that are durable or global. Softer options include partial or conditional agreements, non-binding agreements, or agreements on procedures. A similar strategy is switching between the general and the specific. Here you switch from just providing information using broad statements to stating specific consequences. For example, "There's no way we're going to finish on time, but if you give me 2 more people, we'll be okay." Finally, another strategy that generates more options and gives parties room to maneuver is single text negotiating. In this approach, create a single document capturing the interests of both sides. The document is typically controlled by a mediator or moderator. The moderator moves the draft document from one side to the other for successive adding, subtracting, and refining the text. The revision should be flexible to keep the process going. The document becomes a placeholder agreement. Following this approach helps parties shift their focus from grievance to interest. Of course, sometimes you'll exhaust all possibilities and solutions and still not have an agreement. In extreme cases, you may need to shut down the negotiation and just walk away, but that's rare. Most situations will yield to a well-played strategy.
Topic title: Closing the negotiation.
You're almost there. You've reached an agreement with the other party on terms you both can accept. You both believe you're benefiting from the solution you have agreed to, but you're not out of the woods yet. You still need to ensure that you take the right steps with the right timing to close the deal. Before closing the deal, you must ensure that you're 100% clear on the agreement. With many negotiations, the devil is in the details. Let's say you meet with your boss and reach a broad agreement for a promotion. You get a 10% raise, an increased bonus rate, and you have a few extra responsibilities. Before getting the paperwork done, however, you realize your boss hasn't been clear when the raise will take effect, how your bonus structure will work, or what your new title will be. She wants to get the documents to HR right away. What do? Never forget that, more often than not, the details are too important to brush aside. Don't let yourself be rushed into making a hasty decision, even if your counterpart is pushing hard. A good tactic in situations where you aren't totally clear on the agreement is to get the advice of a third party, such as a partner or a coworker. Use this to push your boss for further detail. "I really need to talk this over with my partner first, so if we could be clear about the timing and the bonus." Once you've reached full agreement, shake hands and leave. This may seem counterintuitive or even rude, but sticking around after you've secured a favorable agreement is a bad idea. Many people feel clumsy or even guilty about the situation. You've put each other through the ringer. Now it's time to make up and be friends. When this happens, you run the risk of trying to soothe hurt feelings by talking yourself or your counterpart out of the deal. For example, say a union rep just closed a deal to get his workers a significant pay raise. The last thing he should do is tell management how much the workers love the company. Chances are management felt there was a benefit to them accepting the deal, but that doesn't mean they are happy about it. Perhaps they felt coerced, or that they've settled for the lesser of two evils. Any bitterness remaining will only be made worse with a comment like that. Remember, your counterpart isn't automatically your friend just because you reached agreement. Always remain professional and keep the prospect of repeat business in mind. Life and business go on. Smile, shake hands, and be on your way. There will be many more negotiations to come.